Welcome back to OT Sports. Today we got our Week 7 college basketball Power 40 rankings. We got a lot to talk about. It was a pretty loaded weekend this weekend. A lot of games, a lot of shake up within the top 40. If you're new around here, make sure you subscribe to the channel and leave a like if you enjoy this video. We got lots of content around here. College basketball every Monday, college football every Tuesday, NFL every Wednesday, and NBA every Thursday. So, just a lot of content. So if you're liking this, if you're liking these videos, just make sure you show the channel some support. It's been pretty hard getting these videos out the past like week or two, just because of finals and everything. So if you would like to support the channel, make sure you go down there and leave a comment, subscribe, leave a like, something like that. But enough talking. Let's just hop right into the top 40. At 40, I have Michigan State. I know that they are 5-5, but I mean, I don't know. They just blew out Baylor. That was a really impressive win. Baylor did not look too good. Michigan State's still 23rd in KenPom. The defense has been very good. If they can just kind of clean up some of the troubles they've been having on offense, I think they should be a very good team. And they started out slow last year and made it all the way to the Sweet 16, I believe it was. So I don't know. I mean, this team's hard to figure out really. They're 5-5. They just blew out a really good team though in Baylor. Um, but yeah, I don't know. They've had pretty slow start. I have them at 40. I mean, I don't know. They this week they got Oakland and Stony Brook. This should be 2 wins. It's hard putting a team with 5 losses in here at this point in the year, but I don't know. I got to do it. I think this is a good team. They've had a really tough schedule though. 39, I got Northwestern. The numbers don't really love them too much, so I kind of had to move them down a little bit. Um, I don't know why, but uh, I don't know why I can't find them on KenPom. But looking at what happened this past week, they lose to Chicago State at home. That was a really bad loss, and then had a very close game against DePaul. So you don't like to see that if you're a Northwestern fan. That's obviously pretty concerning. I do think they should be able to figure it out. I mean, they beat Purdue, but they're barely top 70 in offense and defense. I mean, I don't know. They do have the win over Purdue, which is helping them a little. And they're still, 8-2. Providence, another they're 9-2 actually. They play Marquette at home tomorrow. That should be a really good test for them. If they win, they'll probably be inside the top 25. Their only losses are to Oklahoma and Kansas State, who's not having a bad year. Kansas State is 8-3, but they do also have a nice win against Wisconsin. They got some pretty good wins. The losses aren't bad. I think Providence is a pretty solid team. I don't know how, I mean, their offense has got to pick it up a lot. I mean, the offense has been struggling, but the defense has been very, very solid. Looking at Arkansas, they're barely top 60 in offense and defense. They sit here at number 38 or 37, and I know they're 7-4, but they're kind of similar to Michigan State. I think they have a very high ceiling. They have lots of potential. And yeah, 7-4. They've had a really tough schedule. All their losses have been pretty close, in my opinion. I mean, 5 point loss to Memphis, 15 points loss to UNC. So that one I guess was close. They did beat Duke though, and then a close loss against Oklahoma. I think this Arkansas team should be able to pick it up a little. I don't know. They have a really high ceiling. Same with Villanova. They're 7-4. I think they got a nice win against UCLA this past week. They did lose to Kansas State, however, but it's whatever. Actually, they didn't even They didn't even beat. They didn't even play a game last week. I don't know what I'm saying. So they had the whole week off. Yeah, but similarly to Arkansas and Michigan State, I think this team has quite a bit of potential. It's kind of just they've had a really tough schedule. Also, the numbers do really like Villanova, though. They're top 40 in offense and defense. They're at number 28 in KenPom. Number 35, I got San Diego State. I don't know. They're 8-2. They don't really have a big win on their resume, but their only losses are to Grand Canyon and BYU. And you might be thinking Grand Canyon. Well, Grand Canyon is actually a pretty solid team. They are sitting at 9-1. Their only loss coming to South Carolina, who's actually having a pretty good year also. And I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to think about this Grand Canyon team, but looking at San Diego State, um, the offense has been a little slow. The defense has been very good, though. I don't know. They're 8-2, so I put them back inside the top 35. Alabama at 34. The offense has been elite. The defense is what's really hurting them. Uh, when you look at all their losses, they're all close. I mean, 8-point loss to Clemson. That was a very close game. 11 to Ohio State. That was a close game. 6-point loss to Purdue and 3-point loss to Creighton. I mean, these are all really close games, and the offense is going to keep them in games. The defense is probably the reason why they're losing all these games. They have the number one offense, but their defense is rated 105 right now. They really got to pick that up. They got a game against Arizona coming up too, and it's a road game. It's going to be a tough one. We will see how they fare in that. If they can get a win there, that would be pretty huge for them. Texas A&M at 7-4. They're kind of falling in the same boat with Alabama, Villanova, Arkansas, Michigan State. They got a lot of potential. They got a lot of guys that the efficiencies are looking pretty good. They have the number 6 offense. Defense is lagging behind a little at 83, but the offense has been very good for them. And you look, they got some nice wins. They beat Iowa State, who is at 29 right now, and they just had a close loss against Houston. They have a close loss against Memphis. They have a win over Ohio State, who's sitting a little bit ahead of them. I mean, the resume is not bad. All their loss, they don't have a bad loss. Their worst loss is probably to Virginia. I mean, and Virginia's a really really good team. So yeah, I don't know. Texas A&M got a lot of potential. They just got to clean these things up. It's starting to get past the early growing pains of the year, so you're gonna have to start turning it around. TCU is 8-1, but they don't really have a big win on their resume. They haven't really played anybody. Their only loss is by 8 to Clemson, which was a close game. But yeah, like I said, they don't really have a resume booster. They are pretty solid in terms of KenPom, however, but the defense has been good for them, but the offense got to step it up a little. Ohio State at 31. They just took down UCLA, so that gave them a little bit of a boost. That was a pretty good win. UCLA was in my top 40 last week. And yeah, Ohio State's 9-2. They have a bad loss to Penn State, but their only other loss is to Texas A&M, and they have a win over Alabama. I mean, they got some pretty decent. They got a pretty decent resume, and looking at their efficiencies, the offense and defense are both top 50. The offense being number 18. I mean, they're a pretty solid team. I think they're in for a pretty good year. Miami, I'm not a huge fan of Miami. I dropped them down a little further. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to. I mean, Miami's 8-2, but they don't really have a good win. Their best win is probably Kansas State, and the two good teams that they played, Kentucky and Colorado, they got blown out in both of those games. So I'm not really sure how legit Miami is. Um, yeah, I don't know, and the defense has been absolutely atrocious for them. The offense has been very good, but the defense is what's killing them right now. So they are pretty far down in the KenPom ratings. I don't know what to think about Miami. Looking at Iowa State at 29, they um, just got a solid win against Florida A&M. They won by 38 points. Pretty good there. But yeah, looking at KenPom, they're all the way up at 13, and that's because of their defense. They have the number 6 defense in the country. And not a bad offense, number 40. If they can get things going on offense, they could be a very scary team to play. Iowa State, very very solid start to the year. Utah, surprisingly, all the way up at 28. They continue to win. They're 8-2. They're getting a lot of votes in the AP poll. Um, and yeah, I mean they have a nice win over BYU. BYU is a team that KenPom really likes. Their only losses coming early in the season to Houston, who is undefeated still, and then St. John's, who, it's kind of been surviving. St. John's is 7-3. They don't really have, St. John's doesn't really have too much on their resume, but I mean they did beat Utah, so there is that. But Utah's having putting together a pretty solid year. I'm looking at KenPom. They're down to they're ranked 35, so. But the offense, top number 27, defense has been struggling a little though. They, you know, but I mean they're winning games. So James Madison at 27, they continue to be undefeated. Their only notable win is Michigan State. But recently they've been blowing teams out. I mean, I've been considering putting them in the top 25 for quite a bit now. I don't know. They don't really have much to look at on their resume, and when looking at KenPom, I mean the defense is at 119. The offense has been pretty solid at 38, but still, I mean neither of those are really too amazing to see. Auburn is actually a team that I think people are kind of sleeping on. I was close to putting them in the top 25. They continue to dominate. They just got a huge win over USC. They won by 16. I mean, they're 8-2. They have a win over Indiana as well. Their only bad loss is on the road to App State. But other than that, the other loss was first game of the season on the road against Baylor by 6. So, Auburn is they don't really have a huge win. Their best win is probably Indiana or USC. But heading into SEC play at the start of January, Auburn could be pretty scary. Auburn, number 14 offense, number 16 defense. Now, I know they haven't played anyone, but the efficiency doesn't lie. They are one of the most efficient teams in the nation. They're ranked 8th in KenPom. They have a very solid team. Auburn is not a team I would like to play right now. Moving into the top 25, we got Virginia at 25. Virginia is, the number 2 defense, but the offense has been severely lacking all the way down at 116. Looking at Virginia's resume, they are 9-1. Only loss coming to Wisconsin, who is a very solid team in itself. They have a nice win over Texas A&M. And they got Memphis tomorrow. That's going to be a great game. It is on the road. Memphis has looked very good recently. It's going to be a tough game, but I think Virginia they have a chance to pull it out. Colorado sitting at number 24, and they're ranked number 24 in KenPom. The number 25 offense and the number 29 defense. Nothing like standing out about them. They're just kind of a solid all-around team, I think. They have the potential to do very good this season. I mean, they're number 24 in my rankings. They have some nice wins. They dominated Miami. Close loss to Colorado State, who has been very solid this season, and the only other loss was early in the season in overtime to Florida State. Colorado, though, they don't really have a huge win on their resume. They're just pretty solid all around. I mean, looking at everything, nothing's really lacking behind, just nothing really sticking out in particular about them. Looking at Ole Miss Ole Miss is still undefeated, folks. They're 10-0. They have a win over Memphis. That is crucial. I think that is. I mean, they have a huge win. I mean, that is a great win. They won by 3. Um, and I mean, they don't really have anything else, but mm, they're still undefeated. So I think being at 23 is probably fair. The AP poll has them at 25, so there's that. I think Ole Miss should be able to enter SEC play at 13-0. I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. Texas at 22. I don't know what to think about Texas. They're pretty low in KenPom. Um, yeah, I don't know what to think about Texas. I mean, they're at 60 in defense and 23 in offense. The offense has been pretty good. The defense hasn't been as bad as some other teams, but it's nothing to be like super impressed with. Obviously, I mean it's number 60, but and they don't really have a big win. Their losses are solid. 10 to UConn, and then they got blown out by Marquette. They just don't have a big win. I'm gonna keep them at 22 if they keep winning, but yeah, Texas is a pretty big question mark for me as of right now. Duke at 21. They're 7-3. They got some rough losses, but they have some nice wins. Beating Michigan State. Uh, I mean, they're only. I mean, they had losses to Arkansas and Arizona, which aren't terrible losses. They just. I don't know. They have a chance at home against Baylor. I think they actually have a very good chance of winning that. Duke is kind of another team I'm not quite sold on yet. The KenPom numbers really do like them though. The defense got to step it up a little bit though. Wisconsin at 20. Wisconsin's a team I'm really liking their resume, so I have them all the way up at 20. They have a rough loss, blowout loss on the road against Arizona, but they have some solid wins. They beat Marquette. They beat Michigan State. 10-point loss to Tennessee, who's a very good team. Providence is another team inside the top 40 who they lost to, but they did beat Virginia, so they're 3-3 against top 40 teams. That's pretty solid. Looking at KenPom, also very solid. 13th in offense, 35th in defense. Not bad either way. I think Wisconsin definitely has a shot to. I mean, as of right now, I think. Well, besides, I mean, they're probably the third best team in the Big Ten as of right now. I don't really. I might be missing someone, but I think it's just I think I only have Purdue and Illinois ahead of them. So yeah, um, very good year. I was not expecting Wisconsin to do this well. Colorado State at 10-1. Their only loss to St. Mary's, but besides that, they have been rolling. They have wins. They have some solid wins. They beat Creighton. They beat Colorado. Yeah, I mean they're a pretty good team. I think they should be able to win the Mountain West this season. Um, and I think yeah, I mean it's pretty much it. The defense has to lock in a little bit, but they have the number 9 offense, so that's something there for them. If the defense can figure it out, they could be a scary team to play come tournament time. Clemson only lost on the road by 2 against Memphis. Memphis is a very good team. I will tell you, Clemson has some solid wins too. It's not like they haven't been playing anyone. They beat Alabama on the road. That's a pretty good win. Um, they they beat South Carolina and TCU, were both undefeated when they played them. They beat Pitt, so some pretty solid wins for Clemson, and only lost on the road against Memphis. I mean, Clemson, I think, is going to be a very good team this season. I believe they're my second. Yeah, they're my second highest ACC team. I mean, good for them. Number 29 offense, number 25 defense. Very solid all around. They got a solid resume. No bad losses and some pretty solid wins. So Clemson's making it right here at 18. Number 17, I got Memphis. Like I said, they just beat Clemson. That was a huge win for them. Really, really good win for them. They also have some nice wins against Texas A&M. Only losses to Villanova and Ole Miss. So two top, both of those teams inside the top 40, and they have a win over Arkansas, Texas A&M, and Clemson. So they're 3-2 against top 40 teams as of right now, and they have a opportunity to beat Virginia. They have it at home too, so that's going to be another one if they can figure out a way to win that. I'm really impressed with Memphis. I've been high on them kind of all season. There's not really something sticking out. Looking at KenPom, they got to get the offense going a little more. The defense has been pretty solid. Kind of similar to Clemson, just all around. I mean, nothing bad, but nothing really standing out. BYU at 16. BYU's 10-1. Their only loss on the road to Utah, a team who is just outside the top 25, and they have a win over San Diego State. So they don't have the best resume compared to teams like right below them. But looking at KenPom, man, they're all the way up at 5. They have the number 16 offense and the number 7 defense. Like I said earlier, efficiency doesn't lie. I mean, you can play against bad teams and win them all you want, but having this good efficiency is very impressive, especially for a team like BYU. So I think BYU is in a very solid place when you look at it. Yeah, I mean, two top 15 off. I mean, top 15 offense and defense. That's just very solid. So I got them at 16. If they can get a couple more wins on their resume, they're gonna be. I mean, they're in the Big 12, so they have the opportunity to do that. Number 15, I got FAU. They're 9-2, and they play Arizona this Saturday. That's gonna be a huge game for them. I'm interested to see how they play. Their only losses are to Illinois and a rough one early in the season to Bryant, but they have a win over Texas A&M. And they've been doing pretty good. They're number 7 in offense. If the defense can step it up a little bit, I think they'll be set for a great season. I mean, they already are. 14, I got Gonzaga. They're 8-3. Washington losing to Washington last week, and then losing to UConn this week. They kind of got dominated against UConn, and their only other losses to Purdue, in which they were leading at halftime. They have a win over UCLA, but besides that, that's really their only win. Gonzaga, looking at it now, they might be a little too high. They are, pretty solid at KenPom, 21 in offensive efficiency, and then 22 in defense. I don't know. They need to get a big win. They have the opportunity to do that coming up next week against San Diego State, but that's pretty far down the line. We don't really have to focus on that right now. UNC at 13. They fall short to Kentucky in the CBS Sports Classic. That was a great game. They are on a 2-game losing streak, but UConn and Kentucky, two very, very tough games. Their only other loss to Villanova in overtime. They have a win over Tennessee. They have a win over Arkansas. So it's not like they don't really have anything going on the resume. And looking at KenPom, number 10 offense, number 46 defense. If they can get the defense going a little bit more, they could be a very formidable opponent. I mean, they already are. I wouldn't want to play them. Baylor at 12. I don't know what to think of Baylor, man. They're 9-1, and normally if a Baylor team was 9-1, I would be all over them. But their only good win is at home. First game of the year against Auburn, a team who's not even in the top 25, and they just got blown out by a 4-5 Michigan State team. They have an opportunity to go into Cameron Indoor and pick up a huge win against Duke. If they can do that, then I will be a little more confident in Baylor. But looking at the defense, I mean, normally this isn't a concern, but number 70 defense, it just doesn't look good to me. Now, I know their offense is number 4, so that's nothing to ignore, but I don't know. I don't know what to think about this Baylor team. They have an opportunity to prove me wrong on the road against Duke this week. Illinois is at 8-2. Their only losses are on the road against Tennessee and a 7-point loss to Marquette. Very solid losses. Obviously, you never want to lose, but they also have a win over FAU. They've looked good in both the games they've lost. And looking at Ken Palm really likes them. 28th in offense, 13th in defense. I really like this Illinois team. I'm really high on them. I'm probably the highest, at least that I've seen, um, out of all the rankings that I've looked at. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I really like this Illinois team. But moving into the top 10, Creighton at number 10. I'm not sure about Creighton because when you look at the statistics, it's really high on Creighton. But looking at the eye test and the resume here, they have a 21-point loss to Colorado State. Obviously, that's not great. You never want to lose by 21 points. And they have a loss to UNLV. Now, I know they just took down Alabama, but it was only by 3 at home. I'm a little skeptical on Creighton. I'm keeping them in here just because of how high they are ranked in terms of efficiency. Kentucky at 9. I mentioned this. They just got the huge win against UNC. Great win for them. They kind of needed that boost, in my opinion. Now they're at 8-2, and yeah, only loss is by 5 to Kansas, who's you can see where they're at. They also have a blowout win against Miami, and they do have the bad loss to UNC Wilmington. But if they were 9-1 right now, they would potentially be sitting up at 6 maybe. I mean, they are a really, really solid team. The defense does worry me a little bit, but the offense has been, number 15, very solid. I think they potentially, if the defense can get a little bit better, I think they have a real chance of doing something this season. So, watch out for Kentucky. Oklahoma is still undefeated. They're 10-0. They're at number 8 right now. They have solid wins too. They beat Providence. They beat Arkansas. They beat USC on the road when they were ranked. Well, actually, it was a neutral site, but so Oklahoma, and they're gonna have another chance to prove themselves. They have UNC this Wednesday. That's gonna be a huge game for them. I don't know if I see them winning, but it's obviously a possibility. And I mean, number 8 defense, 33rd in offense. Very solid team. Good for Oklahoma. I was not expecting them to make it this far undefeated, but here they are. So I gotta give them some respect. At 7, I have Tennessee. I know they're 8-3, but I've said this every week. Look at their losses. 4 points to Purdue. You can see where they're ranked. 9-point loss to Kansas. You can see where they're ranked. And then an 8-point loss to UNC, who was ranked 13th. I mean, come on. They also have a road win by double-digit points against Wisconsin, a team who I had at number 20, and a win over Illinois, who I had ranked 11. So this Tennessee team is very solid. And looking at KenPom, they're ranked 7th. Number 30 offense, but the number 4 defense. If the offense can get it going, just, slightly, like a little bit more, this team is very scary. I mean, they already are, but if they can do a little bit more on offense, man, watch out. Marquette at 6, they're 9-2. They got some pretty solid wins over Texas, Illinois, Kansas, UCLA. 3-point loss to Purdue, and an 11-point loss on the road in a rivalry game against Wisconsin. Very, very good resume. They got a road game against Providence. That's going to be a tough one. They got the number 12 offense, the number 19 defense. Very, very good all around. Got them at 6. Houston. Now, I know what you're going to say. I'm probably the lowest I've seen on Houston. I'm going to tell you why. I'm a huge, resume kind of guy. Now, I know this isn't college football, so it's not as important, or at least it shouldn't be, but yes, The efficiency is there, but when you look at who they've played, their best win is probably Utah, which just isn't enough compared to the four teams ahead of them. I would love to have Houston inside the top three, like the AP poll does, but I just can't. I mean, yeah, they just barely beat Texas A&M by 4. Texas A&M is 7-4. It's just not the best, but obviously they have the number one defense by a long shot, and the offense is 17th. They're number one in KenPom. But yeah, just looking at who they've played, they just don't have as much compared to the teams ahead of them. Arizona just took its first loss and they dropped all the way to 4. That's probably how loaded this season is. I mean, yeah, 8-point loss to Purdue. You know, it is what it is. They have a blowout win against Wisconsin. They have a road win against Duke, who was number 2 at the time. They have a win against Michigan State. Caleb Love has made this team a whole lot better. Omar Ballo has been great for them. Um, Efficiency wise, number 5 offense, number 3 defense. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Top 5 in both offense and defense. They're the only team to have that, and I have them at 4. UConn is, this was one I did not know. I mean, 3, 4, and 5, you can interchange them. In all honesty, they 3, 4, and 5 are as close as you get. I have UConn at 3 just because they just dominated Gonzaga. They dominated UNC a little, last week, and their only loss is on the road by 4 against Kansas. That's a pretty good resume. Not to mention they have a 10-point win over Texas and a 20-point win on the road against Indiana. Kansas just struggled on the road against Indiana. I will point that out. But yeah, UConn, very, very good team. And then number 3 offense, number 12 defense. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Kansas at 2. Kansas is a team that I'm a little bit hesitant on, if I'm being honest. They just struggled on the road against Indiana. Now, in Assembly Hall, this is never going to be an easy game. I don't care how good you are. But, like I said, 4-point win over Indiana. 4-point win over UConn. 5-point win over Kentucky. 9-point win over Tennessee. I mean, you see where I'm going? They don't really have a dominating type of... They don't really have a dominating type of win. And yeah, I just don't know. The efficiency isn't even too high on them either. They're all the way down at 11. 37th in offense, 5 in defense. They do have Hunter Dickinson though. I mean, Kevin McCullough's been amazing too. KJ Adams. I mean, they got all the guys, but I'm a little bit hesitant on them. I'm going to keep them at 2. It's hard to put UConn ahead of them just because Kansas beat them, but, And then number 1, I feel like it's got to be Purdue. Purdue's only losses by 4 on the road against Northwestern. But, I mean, they beat Alabama, they beat Arizona, they beat Gonzaga, they beat Tennessee, they beat Marquette. I mean, that is just a ridiculous resume. 5-1 inside the top 40. And to be honest, Northwestern is probably the worst out of those 6 teams. They did lose to them, but I mean, they beat the 5 better ones. So I mean, you can take what you want from that, but yeah, obviously they just beat Arizona this weekend, and they were in control for the majority of that game. Number 2 in offense, number 11 in defense. Very solid team. They obviously have Zach Edey. But yeah, it's going to do it for the Power 40 rankings. I think this was a little bit of a longer episode. Sorry for me talking so much. There was a lot to cover this episode. Tomorrow, I'm probably going to do bowl game predictions for college football, but not the 2 playoff games, but I'm gonna do all the other bowl games. I know they already started. We could just review those games real quick. I didn't really watch them, but you know. So yeah, that's gonna do it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. I'd really appreciate that. Turn on the notification bell to make sure you don't miss out on any of our videos. We got college basketball every Monday, college football every Tuesday, NFL every Wednesday, and NBA every Thursday. So yeah, lots of content. Make sure you don't miss that. And as always, my Discord and X are linked in the description. You can join that. You can follow that, whatever you'd like to do. But I will see you guys tomorrow with college football bowl game predictions. Should be a pretty fun one.